So earlier in the week, I talked about two of the most meta shotguns in the game, the ground pounder and the pop shot, which are what I consider to be decently high fire rate, decentish mag size, great overall damage, perfect shotguns. But we're going to be talking about something a little different. We're going to go in the other direction and talk about this stubby toe of a thing called the double boiler. So this came in with a Steampunk set, I think a few weeks ago as of recording this, and it got mostly forgotten about. I think Cthulhu and I, a friend of mine who is really nerdy about shotguns like I am, are the only two people I've ever heard actually really talk about how good this gun can be. And the reason for that is because it has an insanely high base headshot and base damage. And if you put crit damage on this thing, it can crit for over 500,000 damage or more. Probably 600,000 if you headshot. So this is an insanely powerful two-shot weapon. It's pretty expensive to operate. You'll go through maybe, if you're using this as your main weapon, you'll probably break it every 2 or 3 games. However, it is extremely good for taking down mist monsters and smashers. On hit, it splinters into shrapnel, so it does 40% of the damage to the enemies behind it, so it can actually be pretty decent for crowd control. However, I definitely recommend a higher fire rate weapon like the broom sweeper or the tiger jaw or the pop shot or the ground pounder, literally anything else for clearing crowds, and then using the double boiler more or less like your sniper, because you'd be surprised how much range this thing has. It's got a tight spread and a massive hit. Again, as I mentioned about crit rate and crit damage, I usually am on the fence about, double damage, triple damage, but you don't really have the chance for fire rate here. Not that it would make any difference anyway, but you definitely want crit rate and crit damage on this loadout because, like I said, it hits so hard and has such a high base crit chance that crit rate and crit damage is pretty much the only way to go. You might want to consider impact. That's totally preference. It does do very well knocking a smasher back so you can get more shots off. However, I do believe the 30% extra damage is more worth it. And then, as I always say, if you're only going to have one version of a weapon, energy is usually the way to go. Because this isn't like your main primary weapon in a shotgun loadout, I wouldn't totally recommend putting an element on it. The only thing I'd maybe consider is physical, because this thing would be used almost exclusively for mist monsters in certain loadouts. However, smashers aren't always physical. In fact, they're usually not, and you don't want to be doing half damage to an enemy as strong as them, so I'd say energy is the best overall. And that's pretty much it. Just a quick rundown on the double boiler. Not too much to say about this, other than it's just a very, very high-powered double-shot weapon. It's extremely similar to the Stalwart Squire, which many regard to be the best shotgun in the game, and I would agree every way except for the fact that it is extremely expensive. This thing has a base 225 damage, which is pretty much rivaling most snipers. Of course, it has a very limited range being a shotgun, and you're going to be reloading after every bullet. The reason that I never recommend this weapon is that it has a 1-to-1 durability ratio, meaning if you make this thing sunbeam, you will be limited to about 300 shots, which is extremely expensive. It's going to cost you about 30 oxy per craft, and it's just not worth the cost. There are definitely better options, even though this thing is insanely powerful. But that's it. That's all I wanted to say about the double boiler today. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you guys are doing well with me being gone on vacation. Hope you guys have a good rest of your day, and thank you for watching. And thank you to my patrons who support me on Patreon. Every month, these guys pledge $5, and they get to be on the end screen, so I can give them a nice big thank you.